Hey dear Malay people, just because you love to be poor doesn't mean people love to be poor. Simple. I don't know what kind of things you learn from your grandfather, but if you know it's bad, you still do it, that means you don't have a heart. Simple, bro. And since you like to make people wait, why don't you just tip them?
So he's calling Malay people poor. He's a delivery driver, and at the end he's basically begging for tips as well.
I didn't see it that way, but now that you brought that point, he's calling other people poor.
So he's calling other people poor. He himself is complaining
that people aren't tipping him.
Aren't tipping him?
That is so true. That is so true. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Hey Hammy Show. Today, we're going to be talking about idiots around our lives, right? With my experience with leadership, right? The problem with a lot of leadership is that when people pass down, like, okay, now it's your turn to be the leader because you're good at your job, they don't actually teach you how to be a good leader, you know? Just because you're good at doing this job doesn't mean you're good at managing someone else to do the job.
Yep.
So that was like one of the things that the book touched upon. Thomas Erickson, let's give him credit. Thomas Erickson, I don't even know who this guy is, but yeah. But before we go and bore everyone with books, I know not a lot of people like to read books, including myself, but I wanted to talk to everyone about this guy that recently posted something yesterday really, really interesting in Singapore.
This is funny.
Yeah. He's basically a racist at this point.
This is fucked. It's funny, but it's fucked.
Yeah. Yeah, so in Singapore, right, there's Malay, Chinese, Indian, and others. And I would say within the others, there's a lot of like Filipino and more Eurasians in that sense. And there's a there's like a running joke where like Malay people are the poor people and like Malay people are like the lazy ones, alright?
Okay,
so
got you.
I would say in terms of like analogy with culture, like Western culture, white people would be like the Chinese in Singapore.
Okay.
And then the black people would be like the Malay in Singapore. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah,
okay,
makes
the
sense.
analogy from there makes sense. So, this dude, right? This dude calls himself the Lifetime Coach. The Lifetime Coach, and he posted something on his story. And he's one of those guys that like has 100 stories, right? So
Yeah,
just
okay.
bear in mind, like this guy's a little bit crazy at the start already. So I'll read you guys what he put on the post, and I'll actually put a screenshot as I'm reading this through for everyone. So I'll read it in my Singaporean accent. Right?
Okay,
so
cool.
you know
Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah, that's for fun.
hear the whole thing and let me know if you understand what he's saying. Because to be honest, right, whatever he typed, like I didn't understand at first, and I was like, maybe I'm Malay, that's why I'm stupid. But looking back at it, I think it's pretty stupid. So here we go.
Yep.
Hey dear Malay people, just because you love Wingstop and just because you love to wait doesn't mean that delivery riders love to wait, you understand or not? Just because you love to be poor doesn't mean people love to be poor. Simple. I don't know what kind of things you learn from your grandfather, but if you know it's bad, you still do it, that means you don't have a heart. Simple, bro. And not all delivery drivers can actually cancel their order, you know. Not all can do that. Act smart, no use one, bro. And since you like to make people wait, why don't you just tip them? 10 minutes is really a lot to some people, you know.
Okay. Okay. So I read this last night as well, right?
Yeah.
And I also did not understand what he was saying at first, so I had to read it again.
Yeah.
And I think I got somewhat of the gist of it, but I think can I?
Okay, go ahead. There you go.
Can I? Because
Hey, bro, you stupid or what, Malay, bro? You still trying to understand it?
so he's calling Malay people poor, right? But so he's a delivery driver, and
Yes.
at the end he's basically begging for tips as well.
I didn't see it that way, but now that you brought that point, he's calling other people poor.
So he's calling other people poor. He himself is doing delivery orders, and is complaining
that people aren't tipping him.
Aren't tipping him?
That is so true. That is so true. Yeah. I actually got down to research about this guy, right? I went down his Instagram and I really looked through his stories and everything. He's man, it's so disappointing to talk about this. I went through that phase, right? Like I was researching a lot about Andrew Tate and like Patrick Bet-David, a lot of these like really top G kind of guys, right?
Yep.
He's essentially the same. This lifetime coach guy is essentially doing the same thing, but the way he's putting it is very odd. It's not a rich mindset. It's very not a rich mindset because he's posting a lot about Andrew Tate stuff, a lot of like Ali Abdal, all these like influencers on YouTube. He's talking about stocks and everything, but the mindset, bro, like the mindset is just not the top G mindset.
No, I mean, even from this post alone, you can tell that this dude is...
Yeah, even from the post alone, that's just the fact that he's calling out like Malay people and like just how we're poor and shit. Just doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
If you, this is where I say like you can learn a lot from someone who's rich, someone who's like the top G mindset, but when it comes to the application, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah, I get that. I get that the whole Malay people are poor thing is like a running joke, right?
Yeah.
But it also seems like from this he's trying to cover it by just being... He's being racist and he's just trying to cover it with the fact that...
He's being racist.
Yeah. No,
and you can't say that like out of realness, you know? Only Malay people can say that, you know what I mean? Like, black people can say the N-word, but you can't have the white people say the N-word. So it's the exact same thing. So the fact that this guy, right, is just saying this kind of shit and calling himself the lifetime coach, right? And as you go on with his stories, bro, there's like 100 stories on him right now. He's just talking so much shit that I'm okay talking about it right now, but I don't want to give him too much credit. Any publicity is publicity, so I don't want to give him too much publicity. And it just shows you right now still like in Singapore, even though it's a very multiracial multiracial country, and like we have Malay language as our second language, Malay language that's taught in school, Chinese taught in school. Racism still does exist in Singapore, in some parts of Singapore, and we just gotta be careful still, you know. Hopefully, I mean, I think I just want to end it off with like, I hope he gains more Malay friends. Maybe one day I'll be able to talk to him as well, just so he can like see different perspective, because I can only assume that he has never met like a different side of the Malay people, you know. He's only seen what he's seen, and if he were to meet more like people who are the smart people, I guess, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly just seems like he needs to do what all racist people need to do. Yeah, you know, just expand his mind. Yeah. He needs to go and understand perspective, but yeah. There was a lot more, man. There was a lot more. He was also like as the story I mean,
goes,
I can see how many fucking stories this is right here. Holy fucking shit.
Yep. There's more now. And like he's mentioning about like I think you've realized how there's no like Malays in parliament because it's all Chinese people for a reason. And I'm like, okay, bro, calm down. Calm down. The only thing I guess for my Malay people, right, for including myself, that I just want to say, like especially to you as well, it's just a very different culture. For Malay people, it's Malay includes to be Muslim as well. So I think it's not about us being lazy. I think there's a lot more importance to family and quality time. So the monetary stuff in life is less valuable to a lot of us. So like, even though I do want to be the best that I can possibly be, but money or power isn't necessarily something that I care too much about. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Rather than like I think in Chinese culture there's a lot of like I told you, right, like with Chinese New Year, right? Ronnie Chang has said this, right? Do you know what people say during Chinese New Year? What was it actually? How do you say like Happy Chinese New Year in Chinese? Like, I forgot exactly how he said it. No, we have to find this. But it essentially means like bless you or something, and like hope you get rich.
Yeah, it's the extent of my knowledge on Chinese New Year includes the fact that they go around giving everyone money, right?
Yeah.
That's
yeah. Where was it? It's Ron Chang.
For Chinese people, Chinese New Year, when we see each other during Chinese New Year, the way we greet each other is we say 恭喜发财 or 恭喜发财 in Cantonese. I'm sure you've heard that, at least peripherally, right? 恭喜发财,恭喜发财. 恭喜发财 means hope you get rich.
See? Yeah. So in no way am I saying like Chinese people want monetary value, but it's in their culture, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's already in their culture to be like, care about money, love money, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's in their culture, so naturally you can only assume with like more parliament or whatever it is in Singapore. I don't want to get too political on this side, but there's just the main like cultural differences that I see in life, like with students and like adults in my life, is that a lot of Malay people, we care a lot more about like family, spending time, cooking with each other, like praying together. And then on the other side of Chinese New Year, it's like 恭喜发财, like, hope you get rich. Exactly.
You do a good Ronnie Cheng, you know.
But I grew up in Singapore, man. Like, obviously I can speak.
Nah, but you got his cadence down as well.
His cadence down.
Yeah, you got his cadence down.
Yeah. Hope you get rich. Fucking love Ronnie Cheng, man. Yeah. I think it's good with the existence of comedians because now I know how to say things without getting cancelled.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know what? That's a big skill.
Yeah.
That's a really good skill.
Yeah. And that's the whole point of like comedians, right? Like people think they're idiots, but they just have a way of saying words that like that you probably can't say, but their job is to find ways around to like say these things, you know. So maybe that should be a thing that the lifetime coach learn a little bit of comedy. All right, so when you learn how to do comedy, you can say those things without hurting people, because now you just sound like a stupid racist
now
right now.
Now you just look like an idiot.
Yeah, exactly. You're not a lifetime coach, you're an idiot coach right now.
Yeah,
so
maybe, you reckon if I did my Coles bit on a stage, it would be alright.
Yeah, probably.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel like I said it pretty well. I feel like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing, and it's also like where you're putting it, you know.
Yeah, true.
At the time and like the occasion. So if you're just putting it in your Instagram story, then you better be careful, right?
Imagine if I said that whole thing just for like you to put it on your Instagram story, and that was
out of nowhere, right?
Just out of nowhere.
Yeah. Goddamn. Yeah. So that's what's been happening in Singapore right now, and let's go to the book. All right, Surrounded by Idiots. Are you focused? There you go. Surrounded by Idiots. This book, I think a lot of people have seen this book. Probably like somewhere in Kmart, the library, bookstores, everywhere. The title is very clickbaity. I'm not gonna lie. You know, Surrounded by Idiots, but it is a good title. Like,
it's a good title. It's a good title.
Yeah, it really gets you like, I have to buy this book. So the author, Thomas Erickson, straight away starts with like, don't you ever feel like life has so many idiots around you? Like everyone is just stupid, you know? Like every time you work with your colleagues, you're like, why are they so dumb? And then your family, like, why are they dumb? Why is this person dumb? Everything's dumb. And then as you go on to like just 2 pages, and then this guy starts to explain like, it's just you don't understand people. It's not about people are idiots, but you got to understand where people are coming from.
Yeah.
So the main concept with the book is like he categorizes different types of people by the colors. So we have red, yellow, green, and blue. So red is like someone who's very hot-headed. He makes a decision quickly, like someone like Andrew Tate, you know, makes very, very quick decisions. And I thought I was a big red, but as I read books, like I've realized like maybe I'm somewhere in the middle. And it's a very interesting start, because once you like identify someone as a red, right? Like you already know, like for example, he says like red. Let's open the page actually. All right. So the words that we have for red is like aggressive, ambitious, strong-willed, goal-oriented, pushing, problem solver, decisive, all these kind of things, right? And I think we all know someone in our life like that. You know, someone who's a red.
Yep.
But there's something about like identifying it that makes you calmer, you know? Like for example, who can I say? I can't say it. Maybe someone like my dad, right? Maybe someone like my dad, like years ago.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Yeah, it's always
good
mine.
choice.
Yeah,
good
exactly.
choice.
I was almost gonna say someone else. Like someone who's red, like my dad. I feel like my dad back then was very aggressive, and he was younger, you know, learning stuff. And I would consider him a red. But all I knew was, I think, like he was an angry man, or like not get angry easily, but like when we pissed him off, like he would properly get angry, you know, and like make sure we did our homework, all these kind of things. A disciplinarian, I would say, right?
Yes.
Which is what you need in a dad, to be honest. But there's something about like when you categorize a person like, oh, he's a red, then you start to be like, okay, he's about to get angry, like don't trigger him. The book also starts to like explain like, if that person's a red, like don't trigger him in these ways, you know, like this will get him angry, then don't do these things. So that's essentially what it's trying to do. And I've learned to like how to handle all these people, especially customers as well. There's a lot of customers who are like, I think at that moment they become a red. Why is there no size? Yeah, you don't make sizes for us. I'm like, it's not at face value. I think you'll look at the customer like, this son of a bitch, you know. Like you get so fucking pissed instantly.
You get pissed, absolutely.
Yeah. And you just ignore the whole problem and you categorize this person as like being an evil bitch. But there's something about like identifying that person as like, oh, he's a red. Then like, I'm just gonna let you calm down, let you do what you have to do, and then once you're calm, then I'll be able to talk to you. There's something about that really helps, that I really love from the book. So.
The book really dives into perspective and perspective on different types of people, right? So it's like you said, it's like if you identify someone as like a red, you then realize that like, oh, I need you to like, I'm gonna have to ask that you have to wait for them to calm down before you can engage like properly. So yeah, I remember I didn't get to read like throughout the whole book, but I remember going through those areas of how to interact with different colors, and that was really cool.
Yeah, especially when you add like different colors, right? I think with someone who's like now the next color would be a yellow. A yellow. A yellow, as the color explains by itself, right? We can see like it's someone who, whenever you go to work, you're like, hey, how are you? Like, you good? And like they're just minding their own business. Every day is like a fairy tale to them. You know, one of our good managers is also like that, and I really appreciate it. It's someone that just like, no matter how bad the day is, like they always set the tone, you know, and you always love that person. And this is also important. Like, sometimes we look at these people, like I only look at them as like, oh, they're nice, you know, it's fun. Like every time I go to work, I'm happy to see them, fair game. But the thing that this book highlights with like people who are yellow is that like how to deal with them when they make mistakes.
Yeah,
because sometimes when you are enjoying their company, right, there will be moments where they make mistakes, and then like you can't just be like, oh, you made a mistake here, because sometimes they just look at it as a joke. You know, you have to like find ways to be like, hey, like not tell them it was a mistake, but find a way around to work on that. You're like, hey, you didn't pick that up, and then like then they'll be like, okay, I'll pick that up. You know, it's a lot of these things where like it's just about, it's a very weird thing. I don't know why this works with humans. Like it's just identifying the fact that a yellow is someone like that, and then you know how to solve it. Because when I looked at that person my whole life, I've just been like, oh, okay, like she's just like that. And there were moments where like, not that she made mistakes with me, but there were things that like I wanted to say to her, but it just wouldn't get through. So with the book telling me like, oh, with a yellow you can't do that, you know, you have to be like as happy as them, and then they will naturally follow what you say as well. Yeah.
Wow. That's what the book's really good at, you know. That's what I said before. It's just like, it really tells you how to understand the main qualities of someone.
Yeah, the main qualities.
Because I mean, obviously, and the book does say this as well, that it can't completely conceptualize a person's personality by just sorting them into colors and stuff. But like the main stuff, yeah.
And people can be like more yellow and then a little bit of green, more red.
Yeah, they can be a mix as well.
Yeah, there'll be a little bit of mix. And as long as you sort of can identify that, then you can like work your way around. So I think I'll finish through the colors, and then we'll see like what colors we are, and then like what colors people are, to explain that. So someone who's green is like someone who's like the introvert, the neutral person. Let me just make sure. I should just keep that page on there, man. Yeah. So someone who's green, who's like patient, relaxed, self-control, they're reliable, loyal, prudent, stable, good listener. You know, I think in my life there's a lot more girls that are like this. They're like a green, they're very loyal, and they listen. And they don't really have much crazy opinion, and these are the easiest people to work with. They're like very neutral. A lot of people in my life who are girls are like they're in the green. I think green is a good color. It's like sort of like the color relates back to nature. I think like green for plants, you know, someone who's neutral and they're there for a purpose. It doesn't really like shine, but when you look at it, you're like, okay, we're cool, we're chill. You know, that's what a plant does.
Yep.
And then the last color, blue, someone who is consensuous, systematic, distant, correct, conventional, seems insecure, objective, analytical, and perfectionist. This one I think we all know. We all know some people who are like, they're such perfectionists, and they're so analytical that every time they talk to you, they go like, for example, when you say like, oh man, you're going through this health thing, right? Like you need more vitamin D. And then you talk to someone who's a blue, and they'll be like, oh yeah, you know what vitamin D does? Like with the sciences that we've read in the science, like vitamin D, it's been affecting a lot of the brain cells and like this thing called like the mast cells. Okay, it's been affecting. I think we all know that one person, all right? They just go on, and you're just there like, I didn't.
Bro, shut the fuck up, man.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, as we go on, right, you start to realize like it's not even about being idiots. It's just, once you understand someone is talking like that, right? Previously, before I read this book, I know 2 people in my life that are like this, alright? I'll bleep the name out. Right? Whenever I talk to them, they go so in depth that the conversation is like, just goes out of mind, that it doesn't relate to me anymore, right? I want to talk about vitamin D. I want to understand how much it helps me.
Yeah.
But the second you go on to like talk to me about the individual cells, and how it affects,
it stops even like being a conversation that it originally was supposed to be for. You know, it just gets way out of track, bro. And the first name you said embodies that more than anyone I fucking know in my life, bro. Literally, you start a conversation, and it just derails off the fucking tracks to God knows where, man. I'm telling you, bro, this dude.
Yeah, it goes way too far. And the thing is, the whole point of the book, as I'm going to keep repeating, and for a lot of us right now, is like, you start to realize, as long as you can identify sort of the traits, then you can like find workarounds with it. Because when I'm talking to these kind of people right now, I've learned to like, okay, calm down. Like, I just want to know how vitamin D helps with like my mood. Does it affect my mood? Can I take this amount? Should I take this amount? Or like, if I'm getting vitamin D from the sun, do I need to be like, my skin has to feel the sun, or can I get it from like indoors? Like, I just want to know those things that can benefit me, but I don't need to know like the individual microorganisms that's going through my skin.
And then fucking 5 minutes in the micronutrients of vitamin D, like 50 years down the fucking line, and now it's gonna increase your chances of fucking cancer or some bullshit. And it's like, bro, what are we even talking about?
I think all of us have a lot of that, right?
Yeah.
I think every one of us have a lot of that. And other than that, like obviously you can identify someone's traits and stuff, but it's also about finding out who you are. And then you start to realize like, now I know how to handle myself with other people as well. So let's start there. I think for us right now, do you want to put a color to yourself, or should I give you the colors and then you give me the colors? Would that make more sense? I feel like if you put the colors on me, like it would make more sense because you know me better from the outside perspective, so I understand, and then I'll say you.
Okay, I think I couldn't categorize you to a single color.
Yep.
I reckon I would go for a mix between.
The thing about red as well, right? Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be. People always think of like someone who makes a lot of good decisions and like hot-headed as like Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
But it can also be someone who's calm and be like, do this.
I want to give you green and red.
Okay.
Green and red, but blue as well. See, I know I gave you 3 colors, but like, I'm thinking about it, and
yeah, but I think you can also like see it at different moments. Like, for example, if we're just hanging out, like if we're talking about like deep stuff, the blue might come out, and then if we're like running the podcast, and then maybe the red might come up more, and then at that moment you know how to handle me as a person. You know.
Yeah.
All
right. What would you give me?
Give me brown.
Correct answer. You're right.
I'm not wrong.
You're not wrong.
I would say, from me, like from my point of view, I would say you're a little bit of that yellow, but more towards the blue.
Okay.
Because the mix of that yellow and blue. Oh, maybe we've broke through this. That mix of yellow and blue makes you a little bit of green. Oh, Thomas, I found another part of your book. Oh, shit. You should put this in your book.
Yo, bro, mixing colors, right? And
Because a lot of the moments, I feel like, for example, when we're closing at work and stuff, and we're just having fun, and you're like dancing and I'm singing, like there's a lot of like fun in it, and we're just enjoying, and you really bring out that yellow in you. But a lot of our conversations, you have that blue, like the analytical moments, and like you really dive deep into like how you have to communicate. But you know enough to be like, for example, maybe with this health thing that you're going through, now you know more than me, but you still talk to me as if like it's a way for me to understand. You're not going too deep inside, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe that's the yellow as well.
Yeah, I get that.
But it does make sense, right? Like if you have a little bit of yellow and blue, then you're going into that green like territory a little bit.
Yeah. And then you know what? I guess it kind of makes sense as well, because if I was to categorize myself, I'd say like by myself I'm a big green, right? But then it's like the moment I'm with someone else, I'm no longer like that. I'm like a more yellow person, you know?
Yeah, I think.
So I think
that's the other part of the book that I think maybe he would love to put is in like a new version of it, like different colors of you come out at different times.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a pretty, it's like a pretty basic thing, right? It's not too extensive, but like when you realize it, you're like, oh shit, all right. Because by yourself, you could be like an entirely different color.
Yeah.
And then when you're with someone, it's like you know, but it's not like either one is fake. They're both you.
Yeah.
It just depends.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. It's interesting. It's fun, right? Like it's a fun thing to be like with your friends and like, oh, what color are you? And then you find out different things.
Yeah.
But I think the most important lesson from the book, or like identifying the color, is it helps so much with like when you're handling people, right? When you're meeting new people, especially like job interviews as well, man. Even with job interviews, the second the interviewer starts talking, you can start to like feel the vibe of like, is this guy a yellow? Is this guy a green? Then you know like if he's a yellow, match the vibe.
The vibe.
Correct.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, like we always know, right? Match someone's vibe.
But
when you are able to like match the exact thing, like if he's red, then I know what kind of personality I have to channel. If you're yellow, you know what kind of personality I have to channel. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I've read the book like quite in depth, and a lot of other books with like crucial conversations and how to win friends and influence people. I think as you read like all these books about how to handle with people, right? You naturally start using these things to people, and then that's where you realize like, oh shit, I'm making better relationships with people. Doesn't mean you're gonna have like 10 friends, right? But the quality of that relationship, and to bring importance to who is important in your life, I think these are what the books are doing to me right now. Because yes, reading is one thing, but when you apply it and like actually start seeing, right? So what I recommend is, for anyone who's planning to buy this book, right, Surrounded by Idiots, is once you read, like, for example, the red, they go by color, right? In the book, they go like, what is a red? And then he gives a lot of examples of the people in his life who's a red. Go out, just look at everyone when you work in, or like your friends, identify who's a red. And then you'll be like, oh, cool, like, that's someone who's a red.
It starts to make sense.
Yeah, and then you start applying it to every single person, and then you really start to see a change in your life. And like when you see, for example, right, one of the examples would be like when you're going to Melbourne CBD, right? There's a lot of fucking crazy people out there, right? When I see the crazy people, I'm just like, bruh, they're just reds and they're just always angry, and I'm like, just walk away. There's no point, you know? Because sometimes you get so agitated in the moment, but if you're able to identify the type of person that they are at that moment, then you're like, Just fuck it. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I think crack cocaine also makes you pretty red.
Yeah. Only weed makes you like yellow. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
A little bit.
Maybe a bit. I think more green, to be honest.
Green. Yeah, neutral. Yeah.
Yeah. Mellows you out.
Yeah. At the end of the day, when you read this kind of thing, I've realized, like, for me personally, I've cut down on meeting a lot of people and actually understanding who's important in my life. And when you can understand people in general and like who's worth your time and like how you can understand the people, right? Then you start to realize, like, you know what? I don't need to have like that many friends. I don't need to have these people in my life. But I'm not saying it in a sense where like you have to cut them out. But it's just like, they're my colleagues. It's fine. But the people who was like essential in my life, like my mom, my dad, family, you, and then a few other people, like, that's enough. Like, we don't have to be envious. Yeah. It's funny how like I just graduated and then I started reading books. all this time, like,
not before,
right? During uni and stuff, like, I should have read books, but I didn't read books for some reason. I'm learning from my mistakes, guys. Like, I don't ever read books. Like, you should. Uday would know. Like, when we first started this podcast, books is like something
true. True. I was gonna say, I feel like you've really, really grown into them.
Yeah.
And yeah, man.
I remember someone at work was like, "Bro, why don't you read books?" And I'm like, "Fuck off! I'm just gonna listen to podcasts." And then here
I think it's mellowed you out more as well. Yeah, it has. I think you've become less like ecstatic.
Aggressive.
Yeah, and aggressive.
I'm less aggressive, but the outcomes and my goals are not different. It's still the same. Yeah, that's what I've realized. Yeah, it's because I'm starting to like just understand people.
Yeah.
If we recorded this episode before I started reading books, I would have gone off at that lifetime coach by now. 1000%. 1000%.
Yeah, true.
But I think I've also learned, like, I don't want to give him too much credit, and there's a lot of misunderstandings through text. I've also understood that sometimes just purely through text there's a lot of misunderstandings, so you can't really just go too crazy about hating someone. Yeah,
I think he just needs to go out and fucking, I don't know, have a meal with some people, right?
Yeah, go out and just like meet different type of people, and like you don't have to be friends, just understand it's exactly what we did with the Making Friends event, right? The Beyond Club Melbourne. Yeah. We went to that event, made some friends, but we didn't force anything, and it was just nice to like experience meeting new people. And you don't have to go out there and like aim to make a solid friend, but just understand where they're coming from and like, maybe we don't vibe, but it's okay. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Exactly. And it wasn't a bad night.
Yeah.
It wasn't a bad night. Yeah.
You learned a lot. So that's the last thing we can say for everyone. Go out there, meet new people. Even if it's as simple as like the barista that makes your coffee, just ask them, how are you? Like, just understand where they're coming from. Like, trust me, it will make your life a lot better just to understand a lot of people out there. Yep.
Yeah. All right.